All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for attending this afternoon's presentation of how PatentBooks neutralizes patent maintenance fees. As you probably know, ever since the America Invents Act was passed back in 2006, that we instituted in a so-called harmonious way patent maintenance fees. Now, patent maintenance fees are quite common in all other countries except the United States up until 2006, but we harmonized ourselves with the rest of the world by instituting these patent maintenance fees. Well, what that does is it means that patents that a company holds become a financial burden to them if the patents themselves are not earning any income. And that is a structural problem in the way patents are managed and today by corporations, especially corporations that have very large patent portfolios. I mean, many people around the world, I mean, it's widely known that IBM year after year is recognized for being the largest recipient of US patents. There are a lot of other innovative companies that are in the usually the top 10 there, but what they also don't publicize all that much is that they are, at least in IBM's case, one of the largest uh, volumes of patents that get abandoned every year because IBM just says if the patent's not making any money and we've got these expenses in here, let's cut expenses, let's abandon the patents. To me, I think that's tragic because throughout our years analyzing patent portfolios at TEAS, and we literally have looked at millions of patents one at a time, reading the physical document because we TEAS goes back, decades, 3 decades of analyzing patents, well before there were any online databases to enable you to do that. However, having said that, reading these patents, what we discovered is that patents are very much like fine wines. When a wine is first pressed, it doesn't taste that good necessarily. And you try the Beaujolais Nouveaux and so forth. They're okay. They're kind of drinkable, but they're not what you would consider to be fine wines. Quite often, a fine wine has to age 5, 10, 15, sometimes even 20 years to be really top quality. And patents are often like that as well. If you think about the gestation and life cycle of a patented invention, once the patent is granted, let's assume it's novel and nobody's ever thought of that before, but it takes a while for that knowledge, that new disclosure of the invention, to propagate through the industrial universe, if you will, and throughout humanity. People have to read the patent and say, that's a pretty good idea. Maybe I can incorporate this into my product. And they might do that. It takes a long time for that design cycle to occur. And, and then the product has to be released to the public. The public has to say, oh, this is a good product, this is a good feature. And that takes time as well. So if you think about this, these are years in terms of the gestation period. But meantime, patent owners got to pay these maintenance fees. And so it becomes a financial burden for a company that's not earning income with these patents to maintain them, and quite often they abandon them. As I illustrated earlier, IBM abandons quite a bit of many patents. And I'm not calling out IBM in a negative way, certainly not. What I am saying is that many companies with substantial portfolios abandon many of their patents due to the maintenance fees. In the context of a patent book, when a patent is published to the patent book, all the patents in the patent book receive income, and none of them are in a negative cash flow situation anymore. In fact, quite the opposite. They would become considered financial assets and actually capital assets as well for the corporation. And we discussed that on our webinar 2 weeks ago when Massimo DeVellis explored that with the audience. But here we are in with the PatentBooks Market Center, what we're trying to do here is enable as frictionless as possible environment for patent users to purchase freedom to operate. Because if they subscribe to the patent book, then they have a license to use every patent that's published in there, and they don't have to identify any of those. They've paid their fee, and they can use any of them. And because a patent is published in the patent book, every patent owner will receive income for his patents. The tier threes receive enough money to cover their maintenance fees. The tier twos, however, receive hundreds of thousands of dollars per patent per quarter, and tier ones receive millions of dollars per patent per quarter, the way the revenue is distributed. And we've elaborated on that in some of our past webinars, and we'll hit it again towards the end here. So I wanted to illustrate this to you via some modeling, and this is financial modeling that we've done, and we will ultimately post up on the website. But here's the financial forecasting tool. It's a rather elaborate electronic spreadsheet, Excel, and I can flash that up on the screen here just to illustrate what the kinds of things that are in it. But these are the assumptions that are deployed for this particular presentation model. Okay, we're assuming that this particular company has 450 U.S. patents, and we're assuming that we're putting these 450 patents into the Advanced Vehicle Patent Book for U.S. patents only. Mind you, the Advanced Vehicle Patent Book will have international counterparts. In other words, the U.S. version of the Advanced Vehicle Patent Book only contains U.S. patents. The German version of the Advanced Vehicle Patent Book contains just German patents. And as you know, some inventors cannot afford to patent their invention in multiple countries. It gets expensive, frankly. Maybe the largest corporations will patent their inventions in multiple countries because they conduct business in all those different countries. But if you think about the major economies in the world, China, Germany, the UK, the European Union, Japan, Korea, wherever, they will have unique patent books, and in this case, advanced vehicle patent books. And again, in terms of assumptions for this forecasting tool, we're assuming that we've get only a 65% US market capture over the course of a 5-year period. So as I described, these other upsides are there. The international counterparts will add to these numbers, and the market sizes in there obviously are different in these different economies and different countries, and so the license rates will vary as well. But functional model of the patent book is identical. The only variables are the market sizes, the license rates, and the mix of patents that are in that particular country's advanced vehicle patent book. And again, I'm doing that. So again, with those assumptions, let me illustrate to you what happens. And let's assume that there again 450 patents, and and the patent owner just puts them into patent books, just publishes in there and doesn't want to do anything else. Remember, it's completely free to publish a patent into the patent book. We're trying to enable people and corporations around the world to move these patents, which in most cases are considered off-balance sheet assets, as Massimo described 2 weeks ago, to becoming on-balance sheet assets because they're earning income. Now, even if the patent owner just puts their patents into the patent book at no cost, those patents all 450 patents will be in tier 3. Look at the income that they're earning. They're literally earning millions of dollars if they do nothing else. And trust me, this will more than offset the costs of the maintenance fees on patents. Normally speaking, I just use a quick rule of thumb that a patent portfolio costs the patent owner roughly $1,000 per year per patent. So in the case of the 450 patent portfolio owner, his annual costs from maintenance fees are in the neighborhood of $450,000 a year. But if you can see that, he's a little underwater here at the beginning, but at least he's making some money on there. But he's counting on that second year income to come in, because that's nearly $500,000. And now all of a sudden, you're absolutely revenue neutral and maybe some to the upside. By year 3, you're well over $1 million. Not well over, but I mean, you're somewhat over $1 million. And again, your $450,000 expense is now easily offset. And then year 4, again, $2 million, very comfortable offset of those maintenance fees. And again, in year 5. So again, this is free. Nothing, the patent owner doesn't have to do anything other than publish his patents to the patent book. And those assets can move to be on balance sheet assets because they're earning regular income. So that's a really good thing. Now I'm thinking, if in any portfolio, statistically speaking, for every 100 patents, there's usually one good patent in there that's a tier 1. Now you got to figure out which one it is, but the patent portfolio owner most of the time knows which of their patents are the better ones. And if you recall also, the tier 2 patents consist of 9% of the patents. And so we would encourage that patent owner, for every 100 patents they publish to the patent book, take a handful of them and do Teus Works. So what happens here, if that patent owner just does Teus Works on 2 patents in the very first year, maybe 4 of them then the next year, 5 of them, 6 of them, and 7 in years 3, 4, and 5, respectively. Okay, look what happens to their income. Okay, the income escalates significantly because we're assuming that the patents that they put in on the Teus Works are all tier 1s. It can very easily happen in the scenario I described because of the quality of patents that are out there. And look what happens. That revenue curve scales significantly from the tier 1, the tier 3 patents, where you do nothing and don't spend any money, and you're up at $3.5 million. But now by year 5, but if you spend the $40K per patent to do the Teus Works evaluation and validation, it's a fairly nominal fee. $40K, it's less than $100,000 the first year, but look, you're starting to make significant money, and you're making $90 million per year by year 5. And this is just taking a handful of that company's very best patents, performing the Teus Works on them. Again, there's a relatively minor expense in there to do the Teus Works evaluation, but significant income percentage growth there. Now, if you take even the next step and you say, what if you do a full Teus Works? You're completely sold. This is a good thing. Let's take, out of my 450 patents, let's take the top 45, do Teus Works on them. Now you're going to get a mix, because not all of them will be tier 1, but you're going to have tier 1s and tier 2s in there, and of course the remainder at tier 3. So if you do the full Teus Works on that 450 patents, and then you allow for some growth in the portfolio, let's say you get 25 new patents per year over this period of time, and I had to standardize on some assumptions here, and so you would only do 2 or 3 patents in addition to do Teus Works on 2 or 3 patents per year after that first year. Then what you see, this is what our assumptions were, doing 4 patents per year after that first year. Look at your numbers now. Now those patents are equally distributed, in the tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 per those assumed ratios. But now you're looking at $200 million. You haven't needed to litigate any of these things. This is significant income in here. And by the way, little footnote, way more than offsets the maintenance fees. That's what we're talking about here, is offsetting the maintenance fees. Don't abandon your patents. Put them into the patent book. There is no downside to these things. If you sell the patents, you sell the company, whatever, you can pull the patents out of the patent book at any point in time. Again, the model here is simply this: publish your patents into the patent book. All these companies are doing have significant portfolios that are relative to advanced vehicles. And by advanced vehicles, again, I'm referring to electrical cars, autonomous cars, fuel cell cars, any patents that fall into those areas. What we're trying to do is being as inclusive as possible. Put your patents in there. In fact, right now we have patents published to the Advanced Vehicle Patent Book, 2 different sets of braking system patents. We have airfoil patents. We have user interface patents in the Advanced Vehicle Patent Book. And frankly, there are individual patent owners who have published their patents into all the other patent books, not just advanced vehicles. Those include Internet of Things, cloud computing, infectious disease, and clean energy. And all of these function in an identical way. And so all of them become significant contributors to the bottom line and the asset base of the corporation. So if you take a look, again, this has been done before. I wouldn't say this is not rocket science, because it's really not rocket science. What we're trying to do is emulate successful models of patent licensing that have been done before, including that 1865 sewing machine combination. That's an important first step there. It was actually done further in the early 1900s by Franklin Delano Roosevelt, when he forced airplane manufacturers to cross-license their patents in there too. But they didn't have quite the structure that the sewing machine combination did. That was government involvement there. But we do the same kind of thing with our utilities today, with electrical and water. And then we have the intellectual property models that we know and familiar with right now, ASCAP and BMI on the music front. These have been around for, in some, ASCAP's been around for more than a century. BMI is a bit newer, but their models are very similar here. And now what we see is the Apple Music and Spotify's. The demo site that we have here is very, very easy to navigate. It takes a little while to load. But if you go to this website, you'll be able to see exactly how this system will ultimately work. So again, if you go back to these curves, there's really no downside at all. That's for zero expense on the income to the patent owner here. It just publishes his 450 U.S. patents to the U.S. Patent Book for advanced vehicles. He's putting money in his pocket, not just covering the expense of the maintenance fees. He's putting money in his pocket. Again, if you take just a selection, very small selection of patents, and do the Teus Works in them, so that they can get promoted into those upper 2 tiers, and we do that right off the bat, well, I'll tell you what, the curve shifts up significantly, up because you're moving now from a $3.5 million income line to a 90 million income line in year 5. And then if you decide this is a really good model, I'm going to optimize my patents for compensation in here, those numbers jump significantly. You can see the shape of the curve has changed. It doesn't quite curve up quite as much as the end. It's a much more linear function because you've positioned your patents early on in the development of the patent books, and you're maximizing that income. Like I said, 25 million in just the second year. There's probably 70 million or so in year 3. This is probably 110, 115 million in year 4, and then well north of 200 million in year 5. What we believe will happen is as companies begin to report their financials and their income from their portfolios, and again, IBM would be a great poster child, if you will, for this model, is they could show, hey, these, the patents that we've been securing over these many years are now real, true assets, and we're recording them on our books, and we will impair them as we would any other asset, and monitor them for growth and income, and report them on just as we report regular income on any other asset base. So that is the presentation that we wanted to do here. And again, remember, this presentation is based on these assumptions only. We have a tool, and I'm going to end this show, and I'm going to share with you the actual electronic spreadsheet here, because it is kind of complicated. And I'll just show you this one real fast. This is the first one. Can you see this Excel spreadsheet that I'm referring to here right now? Everyone?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
If you take a look at this spreadsheet here, it's a very interesting spreadsheet, and we're going to publish this up on the PatentBooks webpage so that you can do it. But obviously, you can't publish all this kind of stuff up there. But this is the market size of what we consider to be the advanced vehicle marketplace, which again includes electric, autonomous, and fuel cell cars. It says we're only capturing 10, 20, 40, 55, and 65% of the marketplace. The royalty rate here is extremely attractive, especially when you consider the prices that Daimler and Ford had to pay recently due to the litigations in Germany and in the U.S. and the Avanci rates are significantly higher for a lot fewer patents, and the big car companies really don't receive any income out of there. It's just an expense, at least in the context of a patent book. If these car companies, the Fords and Daimlers and Volkswagen Audis, fully participate in here, they will not only purchase the freedom to operate by subscribing to the patent book. And by the way, subscription is completely voluntary. It has to be a good deal for you, or you wouldn't do it. There's no compulsion to do it. But you'll also be able to participate and earn income from your patent portfolios, enhance your balance sheets and so forth, and offset that negative cash flow associated with the maintenance fees by just putting the patents in here. And again, the rate here is very, very, very attractive. The ratios are the same. All the patent owners, of course, PatentBooks takes our 30% right off the top. And here again, zeros. No patents in this particular model are actually being evaluated for Teus Works. So I just wanted to show you that these models are here. We'll put them out there. There's a lot of details in here. There's complicated equations, as you can see. These are details and so forth in here. And again, I'm just illustrating this from the high things. But this is what we're talking about here. So this tool will be available up on the web. I just pulled some of these examples out of here, and we just wanted to see this. Now I see we do have a guest on here. Tom, welcome to the PatentBooks webinar. I didn't notice when you joined, but can I answer any questions for you that I might have provoked during the presentation?
You showed a website, and I'm not sure what it is.
What a patent book is? A patent book is a marketplace for efficient patent licensing. Patent owners can publish their patents to the patent book completely free of charge, and they will earn income. And that's what I was talking about there in terms of the zero expense model, where you just publish your patents. They're in tier 3, completely free. and we will pay, the patent book will pay you the income that comes from those tier 3 patents, and that will completely neutralize all your patent maintenance fees.
Wow. That's hard to believe, but that sounds exciting.
Well,
we have a bill right now for a maintenance fee that's exorbitant, and so I'm trying to convince my wife to apply for the micro status at the patent office.
yes,
Even though we're a small entity, and that now is doubled, tripled. I'm surprised how exorbitant the maintenance fees have become. So
I agree. I agree. And, you know, like I said, I don't know when you tuned in, Tom, but companies with, when large companies with substantial portfolios, that expense, they're looking at it the same way you are and saying, is this really worth doing it? And I'm saying the patent book becomes the safe haven. As you know, if you put your patents publish your patents into the patent book, you still own the patents. We're not buying them. You're just putting them into this marketplace. And I can assure you that right now, I mean, because, you know, we do the web maintenance and you know, paying attention to who hits the web pages. Our pages are being seen by Jim Farley at Ford and Klaus Mansberger over in Daimler and Kai Brandt and the group over at Volkswagen, and what they're watching the volume of patents increase. Sure. And they're saying, okay, this is a good deal. And if they simply subscribe to the patent book, they get licenses to all your patents, and you'll earn money, and they can use your patents, and you can actually say, look, what you'll also find, there's usually a lot of other intellectual property that the patent owner has. Getting a license to the patent is nice, but there's usually other technology, you know-how, show-how, and other sorts of information that you might be able to conduct an additional dialogue or additional transaction with those subscribers to the patent book, if you think that you have something there to offer.
Well, the patent we have certainly has something to offer. It's in the bioelectromagnetic area, antioxidant clothing. So it's a specialized area that maybe Nike and some other companies could use. But the interesting thing is that you're offering licenses automatically if somebody subscribes to PatentBooks?
Yep. They get a license. They get a license for that field of use. Pardon?
It sounds like you're abusing our patent if you're just giving it away to anybody who pays for a subscription.
No, I'm not giving it away. They're paying for it. As they subscribe here, you will receive a portion of that subscription fee.
I see. That's interesting. So there's a number of people that could license it.
Correct. Okay. What the big companies, it's funny, you know, big companies, because that's been TAEUS customer base over the last 30 years, is primarily the big companies. And it's funny how the big companies behave. It's kind of like you remember the old cartoons where where a little mouse can scare a big elephant. Okay, the big elephants, the big companies, run around scared of the little guys. In fact, Bill Gates was even quoted years ago as saying the companies that scare us the worst are the little guys who invent something that we hadn't thought about, and it completely neutralizes a big section of our business. That's always a constant fear. And as you have seen in the last, probably 10, 15 years, the big companies, and I refer to them disaffectionately as the FANGs, the Facebooks, Amazons, Apples, Netflixes, and Googles, have manipulated our Congress and our government to have laws in their favors.
Sure.
Okay. And I'm saying trying to convince the government to do anything to swing the pendulum back in favor of the patent owners is like changing the government in any way. Okay, it's difficult. I'm saying this is a commercial solution. It's very easy to get in, and the people that are the practitioners in the licensing world are the people that govern and control the patent books environment, because everything's transparent.
And what is the cost for us as a patent holder?
Zero.
Oh, I see.
Unless you have an exceptional patent and you would like to move it up into tier 2 or tier 1 in terms of the compensation level. And then there is a fee that we charge for evaluating the patent. I would encourage you to go to taeusworks.com, TAEUSWORKS.com, because you'll see what the patent evaluation criteria are. The IEEE has asked to adopt those metrics for international standard.
I see.
Yeah. And because we've used them and refined them, those metrics, there were no metrics of how to judge patents when we first got into this field about 30 years ago. And as we engaged with our big clients, they said, you say these patents are good. Tell me why they're good. Yeah. And so I had to force our engineering team into defining these metrics. And these metrics have been refined by our customers and us, and they work. So the perspectives come from engineers, lawyers, and economic damages folk. And because each of those provides a unique perspective on these. And if you go to taeusworks.com, you can see what those are.
And it's TAEUS?
WORKS.
Right.
Yep.
So, okay.
Yes. Yep.
Well, thanks very much. Sounds exciting.
Yeah. Well, what we're trying to do, we're fostering this marketplace. It's dumb, in my opinion, just be running to the courthouse all the time. And frankly, most people can't do that. Most people don't have the stomach, and they don't have the patience to go run to the courthouse. And yet, the big companies, they've developed, for lack of a better term, arrogance. They think they can get away with it. Okay. And right now they can. And what I want to do is not appeal to them with a stick, but it's appeal to them with a carrot. And this is a significant carrot because the big companies, quite often which are the ones that are using it. And I would use Apple, for instance. Apple pays attention to technological developments around the world, and they try to make the coolest, sexiest products out there. And frankly, they don't give a damn whose patents they use. Okay. And they'll say, fine, sue me in court. And, Apple's been a client of ours for many, many years. And, I've learned their behavior patterns. Okay. And what we've tried to do here with PatentBooks is come up with a model that works for both the big companies and the individual inventors. And it's completely voluntary. I've worked with the U.S. Department of Justice, the Antitrust Division. They've given me explicit instructions on how to do this and not get sideways with the government. They then, in turn, introduced me to the Federal Trade Commission, who said, well, you're going to be favoring these Tier 1 patents. I said, I could care less who's in Tier 1. That the market decides that, because it's very easy. If you could think back on I can see by by your office there, you've been around in days. You probably recall the BlackBerry device. Remember that? Okay. If you imagine back then a guy who had a patent on a miniature keyboard, physical thing, that patent would have been in Tier 1 because the BlackBerry was very popular. But when the iPhone came out and you got a virtual keyboard, that whoever had the patent on the virtual keyboard, and we do know that Northrop had a patent on the virtual keyboard, and I'm sure they didn't make any money off of it because they probably weren't going to go up against Apple. But had those patents been in there in a patent book back then, the physical keyboard patent would have been displaced by the virtual keyboard patent, and the patent owners just know that they're not earning as much money as they used to, because the BlackBerry fell out of consumer preferences in favor of the virtual keyboard with the iPhones and the Galaxies and so forth out there. So that's just an example.
Sounds great.
And so, yeah, I'd welcome, Tom. I'd welcome you to take a look at the patent books here and publish your patents. It's completely free, and we will be marketing these to the big companies, the J&Js, the Abbott Labs, the Pfizers, and so forth. They're all looking at this and saying this is a significant improvement in the marketplace.
Marketplace, yeah, marketing. Wonderful. Well, thank you very much for having this seminar.
Okay, well, you're quite welcome, Tom, and thank you very much for tuning in. Okay. If there are no other questions, Solange, Kathleen, then
is the tool that you use to determine the income for the patents with or without TasteWorks, does that transfer over to all the different patent books, not just advanced vehicles?
Yes. The major variable in there, and if you remember when I was sharing this the screen here of the calculator, the main variable here is market size. Okay, so advanced vehicles has market size A, and that's what this is. But if you talk about infectious disease, vastly different number. Clean energy, again, vastly different number. But so these are the kinds of numbers that would change in those other models.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Because this spreadsheet, as you see, is the advanced vehicle patent book calculator. Structurally, it's the exact same model, but these are some of the variables in there that would change. Okay. And again, thank you for that question, Solange. And if there are no other questions, I will thank all of you for attending. And Tom, look forward to seeing your patents come through on the thing. Go to PatentBooks.com and you can see all the various patents in there. And if you have patents that you think would apply to any of those patent books, and again, we err on the side of inclusion, publish them. There's no downside to you because you can get out at any time too if you like.
I see. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Tom. You, everyone. We'll see you.